Now, let's talk about another application of the definite integral, which is in finding the average value of a function. If we are given several numbers, how do we get their average value? For example, these numbers are y1 up to yn. To get the average value of all these numbers, we simply add all of these numbers and divide them by how many numbers they are. So that's y1 plus y2 up to yn divided by n, where n here is the number of numbers. Kung ilan yung number na inad natin, di ba? So that is the average value of all these numbers. How about if we want to get the average value of a function? For example, once again, we are given the function y equals f of x whose graph in the interval a to b looks like this. How do we get its average value? So the average value of the function f of x in the interval a to b is given by this expression. So here is the average value of the function. That's 1 over b minus a times the integral of f of x dx from a to b. So this may look familiar because this term here, which is the definite integral of f of x dx from a to b, represents the area under the graph of f of x, whose boundaries are a and b, right? So that's just the area under the curve. Now, how about this b minus a? This b minus a, if you will look at the illustration, is simply the width of this area. So once again, b minus a is the width. So essentially, the average value here is just this area divided by the width, right? So once again, the average value of a function graphically can be thought of as the area under the graph of the function divided by its width. Now, what do we get if we divide the area by its width? So this average value represents the average height of the function on the given interval. Again, this average value, f of, represents the average height of the function in the given interval. So here, we will get a numerical value. Whatever the numerical value is, whatever we get, that value represents the average height of the given function in this interval a to b. Okay, so is that clear? So if that's clear, let us solve some examples. Here's the first example. Find the average value of the function 1 plus x squared on the interval -1, 2. Okay, so first, you may recognize that this function is a parabola, right? It's a parabola opening upward whose vertex is at 0, 1. Okay, and it's opening upward. So actually, there is no need for us to graph the function if you simply want to get its average value. But again, for the sake of illustration and for better appreciation of the topic, I provided here a graph of the parabola. So ito na ngayon yung parabola natin, opening upward. Now, remember that in finding the average value of the function, we use the formula f of is equal to 1 over b minus a times the integral of the given function f of x dx from a to b. So, in this problem, our interval is -1 to 2. So, that means that a is -1 and b is 2, right? Now, substituting the values, we have 1 over 2 minus -1 is 3. So that this is just 1/3 times the integral of the given function, which is 1 plus x squared dx. Now, I evaluate this from -1 to 2 as indicated here. Now, let's integrate. When we integrate, we'll get 1/3 times the integral of this will be x plus x cubed over 3. Now, we will evaluate this from -1 to 2. Now, evaluating the integral, of course, we copy 1/3. Baka maiwan siya. Pag naiwan yung 1/3, magkakamali ka. So, we replace x's here with the upper limit 2. So, I will get 2 plus 2 cube is 8. So, that's 8/3. Minus the lower limit, which is negative 1 plus negative 1 cube is negative 1/3. Negative 1 cube is negative 1/3 is negative 1/3. Napabilis tayo doon. Okay, now let's simplify. Simplifying this, we'll get 1/3 times, so 2 plus 8/3, this is 6/3, right? 6 plus 8 is 14. So that's 14/3 minus, so here I have negative 1 plus negative 1/3, so that's negative 4/3. Okay, now simplifying this, I will get 14 plus 4 is 18/3. Okay, 18/3. Tapos may 1/3 pa sa labas. So that's 18/9, and 18/9 is 2. Okay, so that's it. That means that the average value of this function in the interval negative 1 to 2 is equal to 2. And remember that the average value represents the average height. So ito na ngayon siya. Ito na yung average height natin na equal sa 2. So, bakit ito ay may kulay? Yang kulay na yan yung area na na-compute natin dito. Di ba ito yung area? Okay. At yung area na yan, which is shaded in violet, when we divide it by 3, what we will get is the average height na equal sa 2. So, mula negative 1 hanggang 2, ang average height ng function ay equal sa 2. O, lagyan natin ng shade para mas maganda. Okay? So, that's it. Ganun lang po kasimple. Now, let us solve another example. This time, let us find the average value of y equals a sine theta. So, this is the average value of a sine wave, no? So, i-graph natin yan. Ano ba ang itsura ng graph ng isang sine wave? The graph of a sine wave starts from the origin, increasing until it becomes 1 when x is equal to pi/2. And then it will decrease until it becomes 0 when theta is equal to pi. So, it looks like this. And then, magne-negative siya hanggang mag-negative 1 ang value niya kapag meron tayo ditong 3 pi/2. Diba? And then, babalik siya sa 0 kapag ang angle ay equal na sa 2 pi. So, this is how the sine wave looks like. So, we may notice that the sine wave is periodic. Nauulit siya, diba? So, kailan siya naulit? Mauulit siya kapag siya ay nakaisang cycle na. So, dito siya nakaisang cycle, which is 2 pi. Diba? At ito naman ay kalahati, so yan ay pi. Now, obviously here, we have two areas, right? We have area that is positive here and an area that is negative, right? And we may notice that they are symmetrical, meaning they are the same. So, if these two areas have the same values, one is positive and the other is negative, we can conclude that the average value must be 0. Why? Because, again, when we get the average value, we first get the area, no? The net area, and divide it by the interval. So, if I will get the average value from 0 to 2 pi, I will have to add these areas. This is a positive area. This is a negative area whose magnitudes are the same. So, the net area will be 0. So, if I divide it by 2 pi, the answer would still be 0. So, therefore, makakapag-conclude tayo dito. The average value of y equals a sine theta over 1 cycle, which is from 0 to 2 pi yun. 0 to 2 pi, no? Is 0. Okay? Bakit nga po? Because of symmetry. Yung isang area positive, yung isa namang area ay negative. Okay? So, para may makuha tayong average value, instead of getting the average value from 0 to 2 pi, let's get the average value from 0 to pi. Let us solve for the average value from 0 to pi. So that will be y ab equals 1 over pi times the integral of the function, which is a sine theta d theta from 0 to pi. Now let's integrate 1 over pi. So the integral of sine theta is negative cosine, right? So I have a times negative cosine of theta, which I need to evaluate from 0 to pi. So itong negative a, ilabas ko na lang yan. Gawin ko na lang siyang negative of a over pi times cosine of pi minus cosine of 0. So, pag kinumpute natin yan, that will be negative a over pi. Tapos, cosine of pi is negative 1. Negative 1, and then minus cosine of 0 is 1. Diba? May makukuha tayo ditong negative 2. Negative 2 times negative positive, right? So, that means that the average value that we will get is equal to 2a over pi. So, that's it. Ito na ngayon yung ating sagot. We now have an answer. So, here, A is called the amplitude of the sine wave. Ito yung ating amplitude. Yan. Ito siya. Amplitude A. So, in mathematics, this sine wave is just a graph. It's a sine wave. However, when it comes to engineering applications, for example, in electrical and in electronics engineering, these sine waves represent physical quantities. For example, this is the graph of a sinusoidal voltage. So again, this sine wave represents a voltage. Now, saan dito papasok ang application ng average value ng function? In electronics and electrical engineering, we usually get the average value of the voltage. That average value is sometimes called the DC value of the voltage, or we simply call it the average value. Okay? And this is how the average value of the voltage is calculated. So, therefore, kapag nakita nyo ang isang sinusoidal voltage, alam mo na kung paano kuhanin ang kanyang average value. The DC value is equal to 2 times the peak value of the voltage, which corresponds to its amplitude, divided by pi. Ayan, huwag niyong kalimutan kasi yan ay gagamitin ninyo kapag kayo ay nag-aral ng electronics at ng electrical engineering. So this is approximately equal to 0.637 times the peak value of the voltage. Okay, so this is more than 1/2, right? So kung ito ay halimbawa, A, kalahati niya is nandito, siguro mga nandyan, ayan. Ito ngayon yung average value ng function from 0 to pi. Okay? So, that's it. Marunong na kayong kumuha ng average value, and dito sa example na ito, binigyan ko pa kayo ng example kung saan magagamit siya talaga sa engineering applications. Okay? So, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You may also share this video to your friends as a way of supporting me here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!